Welcome back. In this video, we are going to then finalize our application's functionality for the notification. So let's go to my Firebase messaging service, because that's where the magic is going to happen. You know that part of the magic happened in the members activity, but now the rest of the magic is going to happen here. And that is in our send notification. So in this function here. So now we don't only want to have a message body, but we also want to have a title. So let's pass in a title and a message, which I'm gonna rename here. It's not gonna be message body, but it's gonna be the message. And before we do any more changes or make any more changes here, in the function on message received here, I want to create a new entry. All right, so this remote message data is not empty. That's where I want to do some more than just logging it, because here I'm gonna create a title, which will be remote message.data with constants.fcm key title. And here we force the data. So that's going to be the title. Then I need the message. So this, by the way, will be called once the message is received, right? So on message received, we need a title of the notification and then the message of the notification. We get that from remote message.data constants.fcms underscore key underscore message. And here, of course, it has to be written correctly. So in our members activity, we sent the message, right? So we prepared everything, and under the key title, we created the title. Under key message, we created the message. And now in this my Firebase messaging service, in on message received, that's where we now get the data. So you have to see the application as the receiver and also as the sender, right? It's both. So it sends the data, but it also receives the data, because it's just one user who sends it and another user who is receiving it. So that's basically what we need to take care of both parts. So here we are actually receiving. We are receiving the remote message. Now this remote message has a bunch of data. For example, the key title, so the title itself, and the message of that remote message. So now we want to use those two, of course, in order to our send notification function. Now this might be a little bit counterintuitive that it's called send notification, but basically we are sending the notification not to the server, but actually to the user. Okay, so here this is just displaying the notification, so to speak, on the user's phone. All right, and in this send notification function, we had this notification builder to which we sent a title, which we set default to title, and in which we sent the text, which we sent to default message. So here we of course now want to use the title that is passed to the function and the message that is passed to the function. Okay, so as you can see here, we get the title once we call this function, and we get the message, and that's exactly what we did here. So we passed the title and the message, and we get those from the remote message, which is given to us once the message was received. So once the phone received the message from the server, so from the Firebase server, it will give us all of the details that we sent to the server in the first place, which we did in members activity. Okay, so with this crazy do in background async task send notification to user async task class. All right, so we now finally need to make one little change to the intent inside of our send notification here, because this intent should not just be there to call the code directly from the application, but we actually want to make sure that the intent is only given if we have a user who is logged in. Okay, so this code here should be run if the Firestore class, and it's Firestore class dot get current user ID is equal to, or maybe better, is not empty, dot is not empty. If that is the case, then create this intent. Okay, and if it is empty, so if the user is not logged in, then we don't want to send him to the main activity, but we want to send him to the sign in activity. Okay, so that's basically the idea behind this. So intent this sign in activity. So we're just checking, is the user logged in? Send him to the main activity. Is he not logged in? Send him to the sign in activity. And then before we actually launch the application, we want to make sure that the flags are correct as well. So here this intent clear top is one option. The other options are intent dot flag activity new task, or flag intent dot flag underscore activity clear task. So we want to make sure that the activities are not overlapping each other, so that we don't have too many of the same activity open and everything, so that, for example, if the user presses the back button, that the application actually works as intended, which means that there is only one main activity open at the same time and not multiple instances of the main activity, for example. And that is what we take care of with these lines here. So if you want to know more about the individual flags, you can of course always check them out. There is a good explanation of what those flags do. All right, and now I'm just going to go ahead and test this application on my phone as well as on my Pixel device. Okay, so this is an easy way to test the application if it actually sends you a notification. You can of course also create multiple Android virtual devices, so you have multiple emulators running at the same time, and you can log in with one user to one of the emulators and with the other user to the other, and then you can just add the user to a list. All right, so add a member to the list. Okay, so let me now run it on the emulator as well here. Okay, well, it's running already, but I'm just going to rerun it so that it creates the latest build. All right, so I'm going to check out a board where I don't have multiple members, because we don't have a functionality to delete members yet, and that is something that you can add yourself if you want, but I'm not going to do that in the course. You know how to delete elements from the database and also how to delete something from the list and everything. Then we go to, let's say, board 1. I think I don't have anyone here. Let's see. Okay, only Homer is there. And now let me add someone to this board. All right, so I'm just going to use Dex here in order to test this. So here, Samsung Dex, even though it's not super big here, but I think it's still going to be fine. So let me sign up with a new user. So this one will be Mario, and his email will be mario@gmail.com. And here, let me see. Actually, yeah, that works. gmail.com. And his password will be super secure. So let's sign up. By the way, you can also add the functionality to sign up or to log in the user directly once he is signed up. Okay, mario@gmail.com. Let's log in. All right, so there we are. No boards are available. Now let's add Mario to the board. Mario add, and here I need to actually use the add button from there. At gmail.com. Let's add him. And well, I got a notification on the phone. Ah, there it is. So here there at the bottom. There it is. Okay, so assigned to the board 1, you have been assigned to the board by Homer. All right, so I got this notification on my phone here, and I can see it index. Now let's do it the other way around. So here I'm going to create a new board, Mario's board. Let's create that. And now let's go to Mario's board. Let's add a member to the board. And here it's going to be dennis@gmail.com. Let's add this guy. And let's see, there we are. So we have a new notification here at the top which says assigned to the board, Mario's board. All right, so that is it for the notification. You now know how to create your own notifications, how to send them, how to display them, and all of the good stuff. At this point, it's free to you to optimize the app, to add new features, to extend it. There are a bunch of things that you could do. You could, for example, add the feature to delete members from a list, then add the feature to drag and drop from one list to another. There is a description to do that. Then you can find the functionality to delete the board. Well, actually, yeah, we don't have that. So you could add that feature here to members, because you have seen how to delete a card, right? And deleting a board is pretty much the same thing. So you can just go ahead and use that exact same feature. And yeah, I mean, there are a bunch of other things that you could add. For example, here you could add a due date information. So when there are due dates, or the latest due date, or also when a due date is passed or nearby, you could make the color of this whole board different, or add a little indicator about the due date here, or whatever. So there are a bunch of things that you could add. Of course, you can also add the feature to add comments to a card, or to add the functionality which allows you to upload elements or images or something like that to the card itself, and so forth. So all of these things that I've just talked or told you is something that you can do already, except maybe for the drag and drop stuff. But that is something where you wouldn't try to develop the code all by yourself, but you would probably just use a third-party library, or you would just Google it and use the description that I can share with you. Okay, but other than that, you know everything that you need to know to build this application to the way you like it, or to be the way you like it, because you know how to upload data, you know how to update data, to edit data, and so forth. So deleting it and everything else, you know all of the things that you need to know to build your very own application, and it can have any feature you want at that point, because I think you have seen so many different things. You have seen how to approach it. If you want to build something, just Google it. Just add something to the application that you would like to have. Just go through the challenge. Sometimes it just takes a little while. Okay, but enough of that from me. I thank you very much for being part of this course. So see you in the next video, where I'll have a little outro. And if you want to make changes and you want to share those changes, please share them with us so that the other students can also profit from it. So thanks for that, and see you hopefully in another course.